This is the Mormon Dads podcast, and we are about to begin episode number 21. And today we are talking about faithful fasting and whether or not we are very faithful at fasting and what our thoughts on fasting are. So, just to set the groundwork, we're all in agreement that the expectation is to fast 2 meals.
Well,
Sure.
Is that what you understand?
yeah.
Is there any specific 2 meals?
Consecutive meals, I would think. That's important.
So, like, if I don't have my 9 o'clock nachos and then skip Fruit Loops in the morning, I'm golden, or what?
Listen, I'm not going to judge anybody because I think my fasting routine is probably not. It may fit in the letter. It may fit the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law.
All right.
Let me explain. So this is my fast routine. I've always hated fasting ever since I was a little kid, or not even a little kid, a teenager, and I started thinking that maybe I should fast, and I've always hated it, and sometimes would not forget, and eat some things in the morning, and then be like, well, I blew it, so I'll just eat the rest of the day or whatever. And so over the last couple of years, I developed this strategy that has helped me fast. And so here's the strategy. 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, I eat and drink as much as I possibly can until I'm like super sick.
This is on Saturday, you mean?
This is on Saturday. Yeah, we call it Fast Saturday. And I'm the only person at our house who fasts because my wife's health doesn't allow her to fast, and my kids, I guess, they just choose not to at this point. And so, for Fast Saturday, it's really just me. And so we'll go to Cafe Rio, which I don't know if they have Cafe Rio up in Canada.
No, but I know what they are.
Okay, well, that's my favorite Fast Saturday meal, or a really greasy hamburger with really greasy French fries. But the key is to try to drink about probably 40 ounces of water right then, and then eat until you just think you're going to throw up. And that's when you start your fast. So then you have dinner. Okay, you don't eat or drink for dinner. Then you sleep, and then you don't eat breakfast. Church is at 11. When you come home at 2 o'clock, you've fasted your 2 meals and 24 hours-ish. And then you break your fast with like 20 ounces of water to get things going. And then you eat. So there you go. That's my fasting strategy. I present that to the loyal followers and loyal listeners of the Mormon Dads podcast. So
I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Okay.
And I'm going to suggest that if you submitted said routine to, I don't know, let's say the Ensign or New Era as an inspirational thought, I'm going to take a wild stab. They're not picking that up.
Okay. I might take you up on that challenge. I don't usually commit to taking challenges, but that's one I might just take you up on, Jeff.
Good. I'm glad. Because I want you to write down what you just said and examine it very closely.
They might ask me to talk about that in general conference, about how to make Fast Sunday more delightful.
There you go.
Okay, well.
They probably won't.
Well, he didn't do anything wrong.
No, I agree.
Okay.
The letter of the law was fulfilled. I'm not arguing that. So
So,
anyway,
so here's the thing. Here's the argument that I'm going to make is that I'm taking the fast very seriously by preparing to be able to fulfill the fast in a way that, granted, on Saturday night I'm physically uncomfortable, but on Sunday morning I have prepared my body with the necessary calories to make it through and be fully present and not have, like, you know how sometimes you get the fasting shakes? Not like protein shakes or something like that you could drink when you're fasting. But like when your body shakes because you're really, you just don't have the calories that you need to function right, and you get like that foggy head. Maybe you guys don't know what that's like.
I know what you mean.
So I'm going to make an argument and say that I am preparing my body to be able to fulfill the fast in a meaningful way.
So besides the fact of just obliterating one of the deadly sins in the process, then maybe we need to talk for a minute about what is the point of the fast. At the end of the day, is it a health thing? Is it an obedience thing? Is it a giving to those in need thing? At the end of the day, from the church's perspective, from us as members, what's the point?
I think there's 2 points.
Okay?
I think the first point is a deeper communion with the Spirit. I think that's the number one purpose and the number one hope of doing a regular fast. The second is to be able to help meet the needs of the poor in our area through the fast offering program. I think that I don't know. I think it's possible. I can't say that this would be true, but I think it's possible that people could do the fast offering program without ever fasting, and still, donate to a fund to help the poor or whatever.
For sure.
But I do think that the number one purpose of the fast is to have a deeper communion and a deeper spiritual communion with God. I'll let you guys respond to that.
I thought you were going to say argue that. Well, and I think that deeper communion is twofold. I think one, it's you're doing something hard that you're going to think about, and we teach younger kids every time you think about how hungry you are, you should think about Heavenly Father and the sacrifices that Him and Jesus made for us, and that we are willing to make sacrifices for them. But then I think also when you talk deeper communion, I think it's an opportunity to either dig deeper or to ask for more serious help in either something in your own life that you need, that maybe you want to do more than just pray about, or for something in someone else's life as well.
Okay. So I'm picking on you a bit here, Matt, because, well, it's fun to do. But so I'll follow up with another. What I'm thinking is you talked about how this is how you prepare to take the fast seriously. And I know a lot of your comments were just in jest, and I appreciate that you do that. But if part of the point is to understand sacrifice and it's to become humble and to prepare spiritually, see, you're setting yourself up so that you have as little discomfort as possible through the process, okay? That's the point. You're going to load up so you get through this thing with very little discomfort. Wouldn't it kind of
I thought I'd made it clear throughout the podcast that that's how I want my life to go.
No, I get it. I get it. But if what Mark is saying, that sometimes those hunger pangs and some of those things that we feel, maybe they're all part of the process. Maybe they're actually part of helping us have a deeper spiritual meaning. Now, I say all this as a guy who doesn't like to fast nor like Fast Sunday, but we're picking on you right now, Matt, so I'm not going to let myself get distracted. So I just find it interesting that if it's your intent to prepare seriously and to prepare spiritually, maybe carb and protein loading 24 hours previous isn't allowing you to get the full meaning out of this thing. Maybe.
I'm gonna stick to Matt's side on this.
Wow.
I would agree with Jeff if Matt said he went to Cafe Rio and got a burger and fries while preparing. But he's only going to Cafe Rio or getting a burger, which to me is a normal Saturday night meal anyway.
So it's an and/or for you.
He's not eating.
Full disclosure, it's 2 Cafe Rio meals that me and my wife split.
It's 2 Cafe Rio meals?
So in reality, it's most of a burrito and most of a salad that I eat from Cafe. I mean, it's a lot of food.
I was trying.
It really is. And,
I was trying. You're not helping.
And drinking 40 ounces of water before 2.
Yeah. So do you find any?
And I learned that from Elder Henry on the mission, who has perfect teeth.
He does.
So don't even try to say that drinking lots of water before you fast is not afflicting my soul enough, or is putting myself in a place to not afflict my soul enough, because Elder Henry did it.
That's a terrible logical fallacy you just tried to argue there. But anyway, so let me hit on another thing, and I'll see if Mark's still on side with you there, Matt.
Okay.
Do you find some degree of irony that the second reason for fasting is so that we can contribute to fast offerings to help the poor and needy? So you go out and find the biggest bloody meal you can and hammer that down in the name of helping the poor and needy. Is there some kind of weird irony there?
I think that depends on how big my fast offering is.
Oh, so the ends justify the means.
Because I am still. So I'm going to go with Mark on this one. We're going to go out to eat regardless.
Okay.
We're going to get 2 meals regardless. Because I've got to eat and my wife has got to eat. And it's kind of, they fend for themselves because they don't like Cafe Rio. So we're going to get the 2 meals anyways. And we're still fasting, or at least I am, still fasting breakfast and dinner. And so that's where the funds are supposed to come for the fast offering, correct?
Yeah.
So let's just assume that I have an eating out budget, that we have funds in every month to go eat out. And then we have a tithing and fast offering budget, and those 2 don't impact each other. They're separate. And so the fact that I go out to eat, and if we don't even go out to eat, we get takeout and bring it home. Not that that makes any difference.
Logical fallacy, but continue.
That doesn't impact our giving budget that we donate at least the money from those 2 meals to the fast offering.
All right.
I think I think I'm very comfortable with my fasting strategy.
Well, I will give you full marks for having a formalized fasting strategy. Full marks.
Okay.
There you go.
Because at least you're doing it.
So does that mean that you're not, Jeff?
It means I am inconsistent at best.
Okay. Fair enough.
So my strategy is it's a little different. It's mostly that if I get up and my kids didn't remember it was Fast Sunday, I'm in the clear. That's kind of how it goes for me. But if they did, then I better be good. So that's my strategy.
Gotcha.
What about you, Mark?
We've actually been doing pretty good because my daughter is 7, so we're doing things to help her get ready for getting baptized in March. And so one of the things that she wanted to do is she wanted to fast and start fasting so that she can start doing it when she's 8. And I think we've touched on this before. So she picks one meal that she will skip when it's Fast Sunday. And so, in trying to be good examples for her, me and my wife have actually been pretty good at fasting. And we have the later church, so our church goes from 1 to 4. And so, I mean, I guess you could argue if it's 2 meals or 24 hours, because, you know, we'll eat dinner Saturday night, and I probably will go get a snack Saturday evening as well, around 9 o'clock after we put the kids to bed and before we kind of relax and watch a little TV. But when we get up in the morning, you know, we usually skip breakfast and skip lunch right before church and don't eat until we get back when it's 5 o'clock and dinner time anyway.
Yeah, we're 1 o'clock church as well, so that's, you know, it's tough for the kids sometimes to stretch out breakfast and lunch and then go through church. That makes it a little tougher church block for sure. But we're the same way. So here's a question then, because Matt, you mentioned this with your kids, and then Mark, you're working with your 7-year-old. Do you guys have kind of a threshold of age when you feel that it's something they should do on a regular basis, or do you know, like I have a 5, an 11, and a 13-year-old. So my 5-year-old, she doesn't fast, and that's totally cool.
Right.
And then, you know, sometimes my 11 and 13-year-old try real hard, and they're pretty good at it. But I guess I'm not sure if I have a mandatory cutoff age for it.
That's a good question, because for me, my son the other day, because he was ordained a couple months ago to the Aaronic priesthood, and it was Fast Sunday, and he said, well, should I fast? And I just said, that's up to you. Like, that's up to you. And I don't know if I should have used more of a teaching moment and talk about, you know, it's up to you, but here are some things to think about, and here's the reasons why we fast, and here's what you can gain from fasting. Yeah, if I had it to do over again, I think that's probably what I would do is give a little bit more, use that as a teaching moment more, and then still say it's up to you if you want to do that or not.
Yeah, I think that's one that you could argue either way, because part of you thinks, well, like anything, whether it be church, school, house rules, whatever, if it's something they can learn on their own for themselves, they'll get much more out of it than being forced to do it, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, it's partly our responsibility to teach them how to do it correctly, or how we understand it to be correctly, at least. And so, you know, that's one of those personal lines where everybody has to decide for themselves how much do we do in the name of teaching, and how much do we not do in the name of agency, right? And so I like the one meal idea because it's not such a drastic thing of having to go 24 whole hours without eating. You know, it kind of eases you into it, and we've been fortunate enough that it's her idea and she wanted to do it. We didn't have to tell her to skip a meal to learn how to fast. It's something that she approached us about and she wanted to do. And, you know, I have my 17-year-old who just got baptized in February, and, you know, it's a big struggle for her to go 17 years without ever fasting on all of a sudden skipping 2 meals. And we remind her the night before, you know, and it's 50-50 whether she remembers and actually follows through with it. But But yeah, it is hard to just go and do it, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it is hard, and I think you guys touched on it, that's part of the point, is that it's something that takes self-control. So I looked up in Isaiah chapter 58, and it talks about the true law of the fast. And here is what it says. It says, "Is this," in verse 6, "is this not the fast that I have chosen? To loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke." So that's the first, like, all of those I think fit into what we talked about, where that first purpose is a deeper spiritual communion and I find it interesting that it talks about to loose the bands of wickedness. So I think, and this has been true in my life, where practicing the fast and that the self-control of being able to not eat or drink for 2 meals or for 24 hours or whatever. And I have, and even though I joke about my routine, and it really is my routine, but I have found a lot of spiritual with the Spirit, not on Saturday nights, but on Sunday mornings, when I wake up and the house is quiet, and I'm not focused on, all right, what am I going to get in my body? I have found increased spirituality, but I like that, loose the bands of wickedness, because I think that there have been times where practicing the law of the fast has interrupted either thought patterns or behavior patterns that had become habitual, and has allowed me to kind of take a step back and gather some spiritual strength to set off on a new course. I don't know if that made any sense whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's one of the purposes of the fast. And then it talks about undo the heavy burdens, and I think it was you, Mark, that talked about fasting for extra help for special challenges, and letting the oppressed go free, and fasting for other people, and that they might be blessed, and that they might get special, receive special blessings through the fast. And then verse 7 talks about that, "Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry, and that thou bring the poor that are cast out to thy house? And when thou seest the naked, that thou cover him, and that thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh." And that's that second piece of, it's a method to, or a system that allows for the poor to be taken care of, which, and I hadn't remembered that it was that explicit in the Old Testament about that this is one of the reasons for the fast, is to take care of the needy and the poor. And I really like that it's right there, and that what we're doing as a church follows that very closely. So yeah.
So one thing I'd be curious from the two of you, and this was something new, Matt, to me on my mission, was this whole breaking the fast. And I don't mean that in a bad connotation, but a benediction on the fast, for a more religious term. I'd never done that before. I never even knew that was a thing. And then when I was on the mission, you'd have a companion that said, I'm just going to go in the room there and end my fast. And I thought, what the heck does that mean? You got granola bars under the pillow, or what's going on? So that was kind of a different thing, and I get it, and I've done that since, just in my life. And I'm just curious if you guys do anything specific in the beginning or end to kind of really formally bring a fast to get yourself going or to end it?
That's one thing that I know for sure I could do better on. I can't say that I do formally start it or end it, but I can say that during the day when I get hungry, that thought goes through my mind. Like, oh, what was I fasting for again? Or I haven't decided yet. What should I be fasting for right now? And then I kind of do one kind of in the middle, just kind of say, I can't say I go to my room and get on my knees and pray, but I have a personal prayer, a little conversation in my head with Heavenly Father as to why I'm making that sacrifice. Because it also happens where you're just super busy and you're like, oh yeah, fast Sunday, don't eat, and you don't ever think of a reason as to why you're fasting. But that happens as well, but then I don't think you're getting the full benefit, obviously, out of the fast.
Yeah.
Are you just going hungry then?
Right.
So, and that's something that I'm really pretty consistent at breaking the fast, but not at like saying a prayer or whatever to start the fast. I'm very contemplative, and I think that's kind of what Mark was getting at during the fast. But yeah, and then I get home from choir practice and say a quick prayer and drink some water and find whatever I can to munch on. So I just had a remembrance from our mission, Jeff, that one day it was Fast Sunday and we came back into the apartment and I turned around and you had like 7 cookies in your hand. And you were pounding all of, like, anything that was close, you were just pounding all of that. Do you even remember that at all?
No, I don't remember that at all.
It was pretty funny.
I try and forget my sins and remember them no more. As per
I remember
scriptures.
that distinctly. So,
Right.
what were you going to say, Mark?
Well, I was just going to say, if you have more to go on, you go first. If not, I'm going to change topics a little bit.
Change topics.
Okay, well, I'm curious as to when we brought up the topic, we mentioned how that was twofold, and Jeff seemed to have some ideas as to why he was opposed to the whole Fast Sunday or Fast and Testimony meeting. And so I'm curious your thoughts as to what you dislike about that.
All right. Well, I should be clear. I'm not opposed to Fast and Testimony meeting. That's a pretty strong position. But it is like my 4th or 5th favorite meeting of the month. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Depending on the month. I just too often find it amateur hour at church. You know, it's the same 10 people. What's that?
Like open mic?
Yeah, it's just like the same 6 people with the same story, and bless their hearts for getting up there and doing it, but a buddy and I used to sit by each other in church and play testimony bingo, and so you would write the names of the people you thought were going to get up and speak, and the first guy to get like 4 in a row won. And I mean, we rarely missed. It was close. It was real close.
Nice.
And I guess sometimes I just get, sometimes I leave a testimony meeting less than uplifted. Let's just put it that way. And sometimes you'll get one in that whole mess that'll salvage the meeting, which is great when that happens, right? But I don't know. Sometimes my mood is so foul by the time that person gets up there, it doesn't matter anymore, and that's my own problem. It's no fault of anybody's but mine.
Right.
I just really struggle with the whole meeting, and I don't actually think I'm very alone there. I hear that. In fact, I hear it from the youth a lot. I carefully brought this up in a Sunday school lesson with the 16 to 18-year-olds, just asked them what their thoughts were on testimony meeting, and I found that I shared the same opinion as a bunch of 16 to 18-year-olds, so draw whatever commentary you want from that. But, yeah, sometimes it's a bit of a rough meeting for me, simply because I don't know, it's either a parade of children or a parade of stories that I don't care about.
Do you find that there's a lot of lulls in the meeting, causing
No,
people to get up because nobody else is getting up, or?
no. In our ward, to our ward's credit, it's a busy time. We don't have those awkward pauses, but it's because you got a bunch of people just waiting to tell their spiel that, in many times, is completely irrelevant. Like we get away from what, and now we're going to shift into a topic on testimony maybe, but we probably don't have time to go there. But we get away from what the basic tenets of a testimony are. And you can go 40 minutes in a testimony meeting and nobody's mentioned Jesus, which makes me crazy. You know, we can go up there and bawl for an hour about how we love our mothers, and that's wonderful. Go home and tell your mother that. It's not part of a testimony. It's completely irrelevant to me on a Sunday, which I know sounds really cold, but it is. And so that's the only part to me that I just get a little frustrated.
Understandable.
So what would make it better? 'Cause I'll admit, our foster daughter was sick yesterday, so I stayed home, and we had fast and testimony meeting because we have state conference coming up on this Sunday, which is it's an emergency stake conference. So maybe we're getting a new stake president. Maybe they're going to redraw the ward boundaries, or maybe it's just a normal state conference that, like, some higher up authority is going to come and do. I don't know. I'll let you guys know next week.
Okay.
So you didn't get called as an apostle at General Conference, so maybe this is the time, man.
You're next, Matt.
We'll see. I haven't gotten any phone calls yet.
So, but what were you saying about you were going on? You were home because your foster daughter was sick.
Right. So, and I was, when I remembered that it was fast and testimony meeting, I was kind of like, yes. It's not my favorite meeting either, and I agree with Jeff. It's my own problem. It's my own issue to make whatever meeting I'm in something that I get something from.
Yeah.
But that has struggled. I have struggled with fast and testimony meetings. So my question for you, Jeff, is what would make it better?
Paid clergy. Then you know you're getting a piping hot sermon every Sunday, man. That's what I say.
So bring in a paid clergy that
That's
they
right.
just do kind of a rotating tour. Isn't that what the High Council is?
Sure. They're not paid, but no, paid clergy may not be the answer. Although let's not dismiss it out of hand. There's something to it.
So my other question is the High Council Sunday, is that your fourth or third favorite meeting of the month?
Boy, I don't know. I've never really, never thought about it.
Anyways, what would make testimony meeting better? Here's my suggestion. Make it short.
Yeah.
Cut it down by.
Cut the meeting down, or cut individual testimonies down?
Cut the meeting down.
Huh.
I am a proponent of cutting a whole hour out of church every week.
Preach
And
on,
you go
brother.
to sacrament meeting, and sacrament meeting is, instead of an hour and 5 minutes, sacrament meeting is 45 minutes. And you have the sacrament, and you have one speaker who takes the whole rest of the time, and then you go to, one week you go to Sunday school, and you've got a whatever, so you've got like an hour Sunday school class, and then the next week you've got an hour for priesthood and relief society, and you alternate weeks. That's what I would suggest. I think that would make church awesome. Not that it isn't already awesome, but
There goes the apostleship.
Well, I hope that special meeting's putting you somewhere that you can work your way through the system, because I'm on side with what I'm picking up what you're putting down here, Matt.
so
Well, I'm going to have to
just for the
argue.
record, you disagree with my fasting strategy, but you agree with my church structure of.
Yes. But
Okay.
I also respect that you have a fasting strategy. Don't get me wrong. I respect it.
I would argue the shortened sacrament meeting, depending on what activities are going on in sacrament meeting that day. And I only say that because I went back to New Jersey for Thanksgiving, and we went to sacrament meeting, and they had fast and testimony meeting because they have state conference next week as well. And they started a couple minutes late, and they had stake business, and they had ward business, and then they had a gentleman who had got baptized the day before, needed to be confirmed. Then they passed the sacrament, and then the bishop had an announcement to make and bore his testimony. And by the time he was done, it was 40 after. So they essentially had 20 minutes for the whole entire ward to bear their testimonies.
Beautiful.
But
See-
there's not always all that stuff going on ahead of time.
But under my suggestion, that would be 5 minutes.
That's what I'm saying.
So in that case,
I are disagreeing on whether or not that would be a bad thing or not.
no, and let me tell you, under that circumstance, the bishop extends his remarks by 5 minutes, or he goes short, and then maybe someone else gets up there and does one. Boom, done. Had the sacrament, edified, get out. Leave on a high note, man.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear. So, how often do you guys bear your testimony in fast and testimony meeting? Like, when was the last time you bore your testimony?
Ooh,
Probably within the last year.
good for you.
Now, I don't think it's been, other than like when I've been asked to speak, which is about once a year.
And that's in my current ward. When we go to Amy's house and go to her branch of 15 people, then every time, for the lack of other options. But in my current ward, where there's lots of people, once a year.
Well, I guess Mark's done.
Yeah, he's done. He's had it. You got a little too personal there, Matt.
Yep.
He's had it.
So,
No, I don't. That was one thing. I was talking to a buddy of mine once, and he was a bishop in our ward, and I was telling him about my frustrations with fast and testimony meeting. And he said, "Well, I haven't seen you up there for a while." So he says, "If you wanna model the appropriate way to do it, get up there and do it."
he called you out.
And of course, what can you say to that, right?
Right.
So you know what I did? I sat on the pew ever since, folded my arms, and was frustrated. I didn't do anything about it.
You haven't gone up there then?
No, I haven't for a good long while. Like Matt said, if I have to speak or
Right.
something like that, then of course you can end off with that. But I haven't gone up in fast and testimony for, it's been a long time. I don't even remember.
So, here's a question, because I wonder this about myself, is am I even still open to being moved by the Spirit to bear my testimony
That's heavy,
in
man.
fast and testimony meeting? Like, I wonder if I'm carrying baggage into the meeting where I'm like, oh, this is rough, and then I'm not even in a place where being moved by the Spirit to bear my testimony could even happen anymore.
I think you've got a different discussion for a different night right there.
I think we've got two. I've been putting them on the list. So we might be able to combine what are the basic components of testimony, and am I still able to be moved by the Spirit? And I don't even know that that's a topic for discussion, but just I think that's something for me to think about as I go into next month. So it'll be January. That could be a New Year's resolution. Four times of bearing my testimony in 2016.
Well, and I think that could go two different ways. There was a gentleman at testimony meeting on Sunday who he had some kind of event that happened, and it wasn't just a story. Like Jeff said, it should pertain to church or Christ, and so he had an opportunity in talking with one of his kids' friends' moms at the supermarket. They were just talking, and somehow they brought up, I forget what they were even talking about, but the subject of Adam and Eve came up, and he had the opportunity to just briefly share. There's a lot to go into this, but we believe that Eve was actually the smart one, because it had something to do. Their boys were going out to eat a lot more often than normal, and they were wondering if there was some kind of cute girl involved, whether they were meeting them there at the restaurant, or whether a cute girl worked at the restaurant, and they both agreed probably there was. And then the comment was made about girls leading boys astray or something, and then like Adam and Eve, and he was able to share that we actually believed that Eve was the smart one, not the one leading someone astray, right? And he didn't mean to go into any detail on that, he just kind of briefly mentioned it, but it able to spark a conversation and an opportunity for him to talk a little bit about our beliefs for the church, and so it was a good missionary moment for him. And so when we have those kind of events, I think we could feel compelled maybe to share them. But then on the other hand, my own sister, who was next to me, and whether she just felt inspired to go do it or whether she was tired of people going up there and talking about things that weren't quote-unquote relevant, she just went up and said, I believe in the church, I'm thankful for Heavenly Father and Jesus for his atonement. I know the Book of Mormon is true. I'm thankful for Joseph Smith and the sacrifices he made. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Boom. And went and sat down. No stories, nothing, just straight up what she was thankful for or believed in. And I think sometimes we can be compelled to share that as well, because either you yourself need to hear yourself say it or somebody else needs to hear you say it.
So let's do a thought experiment here, and let's say that every single person that bore their testimony at Fast and Testimony meeting did exactly what you just said, Mark, and that there weren't stories, that it was people just getting up and saying, I have an assurance that the church is true, and I know that the gospel is real, and I know that Christ is the Savior, and like everybody just did that. Does that improve the meeting?
It can. I personally like stories. Yeah. And I'd rather them pertain to the gospel or to Jesus and not to your mom. But I personally...
You tell your mom joke.
Yeah, no your mama jokes. No.
And I can feel the spirit, but I can just as easy feel the spirit with somebody just telling truth in what they believe in as well. So I think it can add to the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, we've been told there are specific components to a testimony. The general authorities have told us: restoration of the gospel, Book of Mormon, Joseph Smith, modern-day prophets, atonement of Jesus Christ. So those are the things to testify. And Mark, as much as I've taken kind of a negative attitude towards stories and stuff, I don't have a particular problem with a poignant faith-related story.
Right.
Something that was faith-promoting or important, and it's direct and to the point, and it relates. That can be fine. So that's not necessarily what I was judging so harshly, but Matt, at the end of the day, if 45 people got up and declared their testimony of those 5 things, you've had a pretty solid meeting, in my opinion.
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I think that would be... So in my mind, I'm just imagining what that could be like, and I think there would be like this momentum that would build, and this, I don't know, camaraderie, and I think that the spirit would be super strong in that meeting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe when one of you guys are called as bishop, you can challenge your ward to do that and see what happens.
Well, you should be able to do it in 2 weeks from now, man. You'll be solid.
Okay, I will make this commitment.
When you're stake president.
If that was to happen, then I commit to challenging my ward to do that.
Cool.
You can send me a contract and I will sign it.
It's all right.
That's how certain I am.
You'll be held accountable by your peers and your word. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
So, anybody want to summarize this thing? We're hitting an hour.
Yeah, the summary is that fasting can take all shapes and forms. Well, not all. Like, to only fast for 20 minutes doesn't work. But I guess you can have a strategy for your fast. Or you could not have a strategy for your fast. So there's part of the summary. The other part of the summary is if you don't like fast and testimony meeting, it's your own fault, and we should figure out a way to fix that.
Which may or may not include a contraction of the time we spend at church every Sunday.
I think you can do it without the contraction. I think you should figure out how to do it without the contraction. But in my opinion, the contraction would make it.
Yeah.
Would make that much easier.
Yeah.
Much easier. So, anyways, that wasn't a great summary. But hopefully whoever is listening to this podcast listened to the whole thing, and they can leave a comment on our website summarizing it better than I did. And if you have a strategy for how you faithfully fast, you can leave a comment on our website, mormondadspodcast.weebly.com. And so, yeah, it's the awkward time where we don't know how to end the show. And so we just do. Okay, bye.